jog, and it's like, you know,
Yeah, it's so different. Ooh, okay. We're streaming. We're streaming
yay.
live.
Did you make sure we're actually streaming in the group? It's Wild Waters on Facebook these days.
All right, it looks like we are. We are live. I'm so happy. So hello everyone. I am so happy to be here with you on this incredibly beautiful day with Jocelyn Kelly Reid, who is one of my favorite people alive, a client of mine, someone I work with in both directions. She was my first business coach. She is the founder of Born to Be a Boss, the Cohort, a bunch of other miraculous, amazing programs. And she is here to talk about why working with me has changed her so much. So thank you so much, Jocelyn, for being here. Do you have anything else you want to add as your intro?
Oh, that sounds good. I mean, for anyone who doesn't know who I am, I'm an intuitive business and abundance coach and a feminine energy healer. And I really help women turn on in their businesses, with their money, with their pleasure, their magic, so that we can just be rich and vibing and getting paid to be us and having a good time in life.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And you have it's so interesting because I heard you last year on a live on Instagram, and I knew the second I heard you that you were going to change my life. and and you did. You were one of the first people who really was able to see sort of the magnitude of my own gifts, and that really helped me just to be able to like be really confident. And like you are such an amazing visionary in terms of like being able to really like look at a person and say, okay, you've got these like 500 things going on. That's what this would look like in 3D. That's what this would look like from a business perspective. So our journey together has been really interesting. I think like we've both really been able to help each other a lot. And one of the reasons why I appreciate you having agreed to do this so much is that, and you and I talk about this a lot in general, but your success, my success, the ways that both of us have really made these crazy huge quantum leaps in the past year have been because we really go all in on ourselves. And it's not easy. It's not always pleasant. This year has been a punisher in a lot of ways, especially for people who have these really big missions. But one of the things that I've seen with my work is that it really helps hold people in a very sacred space that's like kind of hard to explain. And I think that you do a very good job of like articulating the impact of it, right? Because we want to know before we start working with someone that it's going to have an impact on our wallet, on our relationships in these ways that are really tangible. And you have just leaned so deep into that like way of really showing up for yourself, really flourishing, really doing a lot of very, very hard, messy stuff. And then not, like we all have our stuff, but I've watched you show up for yourself, transmute. Like you are a person who, when I have, something where I'm like, well, your guides are telling you to do this thing, and I'm like, you're just there for it. You're like, yep, I'll do it. I know that it's going to have an impact. And then it does.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for me, it's interesting, right? Because I don't really need so much help with business and money, right? That's kind of my my special sauce and my forte. However, my energy moves really fast. And for me to, so what can happen too is I also grow out of containers really fast, And obviously I knew you, so I knew the power of your work because you were in the cohort, you were in Feminine Magic and Money. And like, I just knew you. And so what's been so amazing about my job is I attract all these quantum healers who are then able to also help so powerfully. And that is like what you are. And so because I'm so multidimensional in my work and as a human, and my energy moves fast, what's always been important for me in a kind of like healing / spiritual advice that's psychically informed container is the ability to just like move through things really quickly and not have to like belabor. And I feel like you're really powerful. It's interesting. It's like, we don't even have to get into so much of the, like, this happened and this is why I'm like, you know, that like slow road to arriving, but you have a really powerful way of just like hearing what's going on and then moving the energy. And I feel like we've been such a good match because I'm really good in the 3D, you know, so you're able to just like do the things the way that you do them in the 5D. And of course, if something tangible comes through, you tell me. But I feel like so much of it has been like the energetic work, you know, and just clearing out whatever the hell from this lifetime, past lifetimes, ancestral ties, stuck weird energies, things we're carrying from the collective. Like someone like me who literally has thousands of women in my field just through the portal of my business, and then also is sensitive to collective energy. It's really important for me to like keep the channel clear. And I talk about this in my own work too, right? Keep the channel clear, keep the channel clear. And that's something that we really like need support with. We cannot, I don't care how much money you make or whatever your deal is, like you can't see yourself fully the way that someone else sees you. And if you want to play in the quantum, right, which is what I do, it's what my business is about, it's what I teach other women how to do. Like we need to start healing in the quantum as well. And I feel like a huge part of my ascension, especially this past year, was, I remember, Andrew, it was so funny. So when I remember like I was at 50K months and I was desiring to get to 100, and, you know, had all these little nigglies I was cleaning up. And then I kind of got like, and then I got Brooklyn, like all these things like started to compound and work. And I remember in one of our sessions, you were just like, well, your guides just said she's open for business. Like, cause I had kind of like had the energetic that we see so often, the contraction before the expansion. And I tend to quantum leap and not grow linearly. So I'll like take a big jump, chill out there, rearrange the energy, rearrange what needs to be rearranged in the business, do all this stuff behind the scenes. And it's like, boom, I come out and I'm at a totally new level. And so you'd really been there through basically that ascension. And it's just so funny because I remember those words. And you'd actually told me that you saw my first 6-figure month. I think you thought it was June and then it was in July. And also I think it's really important, like when you say stuff like that, I don't really hang on to it. I'm like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Because you know how there's that energy too. If we like hang on too tight to something we hear, we don't then go like do the things or do the behind the scenes work to get it. We just kind of are like, it can set us back sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it was kind of like in one ear and out the other. But then I really remembered when not because I didn't believe you, because I know to just like receive psychic information that way and almost act like I didn't, but like it keeps me going, you know? And that was really powerful. And I have to say, like one of the most memorable pieces of your work has been my soul retrieval. Holy shit. Now it was a while ago. It was really powerful and it was wild because I think what's so interesting about your work. So I'm very energetic. So what happens, at least when I'm with you, is like when you're saying things that really resonate or the work is really moving through my, like I'll feel like my body's swaying or like I really feel the energy. I've kind of had these like blackouts during healing sessions before where I think that like part of my body like leaves my body to, or part of my soul like leaves to heal and then like drops back in and then like all of a sudden I'm back. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, I'm a witch, so this is how I roll. I'm so here for it. And your work is, I don't align with very many healers. I'm extremely picky about who I'll work with in that regard. And especially with you, I mean, I think our first session that we ever had was probably, what, do you know when it was? It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was probably around this time last year. And then you more consistently started working with me like in the winter spring of this year. And it's been wild because you are such a clear channel. Your guides and my guides communicate so well with each other. The thing when they said the thing about June, July, that you were going to make the 100K months, you guys, I literally, Jocelyn did it in July. I burst into tears because I was like, oh, like there's this way where what you said is exactly right. We can't hold on to those things because timelines can change and we can shift, and there are so many different variables. But it is really interesting because my guides, because they work so closely with you, and I can read the Akashic records, and I have all of these ways that I tap into different information. It is really interesting how stuff like that just like comes true, and it's just amazing to watch it because you are so present. The way you show up for yourself, the way you show up for the community, the way that you really you are able to do these things in so many ways because of the amount of presence that you maintain. Sometimes I get shown things and then they usually do end up coming true, but especially with someone like you, because you really are doing all of the different pieces to really make it so that you are able to succeed. And one thing that you and I have talked about this too is, especially with quantum healers right now, my guides say it all the time. It's really important that we put our money where our mouth is, basically.
Myself included, all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, all of us, we cannot, if we're not really showing up for ourselves, there's nothing, you're not going to be able to be successful as we move forward. And I feel like that is in so many ways too. There is this beauty to my work because it does help keep people's channels clear. It does really help make it so that when you mentioned it at the beginning, just how you're so connected to the collective and you have thousands of women in your field, and that can start to feel really emotionally overwhelming to anyone as sensitive as you.
Totally. And you also have to be, it's interesting because, right, I help women with success all the time. And it's like, people say they want things they can't hold, And so I don't think that oftentimes people have enough appreciation for what is required to even be a container that can hold $100,000 in 30 days, right? That can do it over and over, that can hold thousands of people around you, that can deal with the annoying client who pops up with some bullshit sometimes, that can success comes with responsibility, and you have to be able to hold a team and let them kind of do things for you. There's a lot that goes into it that people don't think about, that I'm very well aware of, partially because of my corporate background and watching very successful firms function, and then through building my business. And so I've always known how important it is to, even though, right, I help other women in these ways, I still desire someone to help me in the same ways, in terms of that energetic piece. And I also don't really care how it works. I just know that it does work, right? And I'm tapped into quantum energy, so I know quantum healing is a thing because I've experienced it so many times. And the soul retrieval, it was wild. And I felt after was whoa, okay, and I also know what to do to integrate and all of the things, but it was so felt in my body. There's no way you could say that nothing was happening. I mean, it was clear. It probably took me 2 weeks to recalibrate after that. And that's another thing. We have to have a lot of emotional and spiritual resilience to be successful. And so, for example, something in working with you that has been helpful is even when I'm going through these oh my gosh, another initiation, right? Clearing out this generational thing, whatever. My business never, I'm not one of those people. I don't collapse under it. My business is always happening. I will, but not because I'm not burnout or stressed out, right? I always talk about have the business work for you, not you work for the business. But I've noticed this is like a resilience that a lot of people haven't built yet. That if you think about like a multiple $1 million brands or bigger, the whole brand isn't collapsing because someone is going through some generational healing for a week. you know, but you have to have the container to not collapse. And so, you know, I'm always talking about, because obviously I'm like the queen of ease and always talking about let it be easy. We have to like do the things that are going to allow, like the ease to a degree is earned. You have to like learn to move with ease, right? And create with ease and run your business with ease. And then also to create ease where there maybe wouldn't be ease as you go through the human parts of it. And that you have to be held for, especially while you're in like big expansion periods that you haven't experienced before.
Yeah, and the soul retrievals are so interesting because
maybe you can explain what they are. I was just like, cool, let's do it. This is another thing. I don't really ask a lot of questions. You're like, okay, well, your guides are saying you need a soul for it's a good time. Because before you told me not to do it. Then you're like, hey, your guide. I guess it was because I had probably was at a certain level and it wasn't time for anything else. And then it was time. Then you just told me my guide suggested that, or not suggested, said I should do it. And I was like, okay. And it was big.
Those are so wild and so powerful. And they are a 2-hour ceremony that I was shown last year would be really impactful, especially for beings who have like this hybridized, DNA where you're from the stars, you came here for this really big mission. It can sound really loony, but what I was shown was that because of the ways that we've all like incarnated before and had to keep parts of ourselves, especially anyone like you who is such a strong feminine healer and really understands this very cosmic language, that we, in order to be safe in human form, we have had to like shut down a lot of parts of ourselves. And there are these like fractured pieces from other timelines and other dimensions, past lives, places that we've like sent basically our energy to be safe. And what anyone who does a soul retrieval with me has a sacred contract where I have agreed to basically call those parts of you home. And that's why it can feel like people say that all the time about working with me, where they're like, I just went into a trance, like what the heck happened? And it is a really huge reintegration. And then it makes it so that once those parts of you are called home, and like we've made that agreement with each other in spirit even before incarnating, when I can go in and I can work with your team and I can work with the archangels and work with all of these, like the Arcturian Council of Elders, who are like my OG buddy guides from the time I was a baby, when they work so closely with your team, and then it's kind of like putting pieces of like a mirror together, that got broken. And then it does take time to integrate all of it, but then it leaves you with this sense of like completeness that I've witnessed it over and over and over again when I do these celestial soul retrievals with people. The impact, it can really shake things up.
I mean, I was shaken up.
Yeah. Like they can be really like intense and triggering and really
but
emotional.
I also knew what it was. So it wasn't like, I knew exactly what it was. So it was also all good. It's like, okay, just rest and do some breath work and keep going.
That's the thing about healing too, is like once we do that, we've also called home all of these parts of ourselves that were fractured off. And then it can have this really big impact, because then you've also cleared out the things that are misaligned, the places that were like not holding you personally in that same like light and vibration. And it is just amazing. I had a client who I did one with at the end of last year, the beginning of this one. And she's so funny. She said that after, like between the before and after of the celestial soul retrieval that we did, she was like, I felt like before we did this, I was like the Diet Coke version of woo. And now, you know, like we had this wild experience. I like called in all kinds of things like the Lord of Dance and all of this stuff. Like the things that come through for people are also really wild and amazing. And you really, you just like, a thing that I will always love about you so much is you just dive head first. You're like, I know, you know, I told you that it was time. And then you were like, yep, let's do this. Like you're just really, you really show up for yourself in this really brilliant way. And it makes it so that my work is able to really work on this like very sort of mysterious level because you trust me so deeply and because you've seen the results, you've seen how it like the end game and the aftermath of it, and that is also just like this profoundly powerful experience.
And I think there's something you have too that I haven't come across often is your ability to really see deeply into the future in terms of like career, et cetera, and how things are evolving. Because I will always remember things that you said, or even just like certain concepts, or maybe ways I wasn't thinking about particular situations. You know how they say hindsight is 2020, but it's like you're able to see ahead so far. And then things will happen, or I'll just reach this new level where I'm like, oh yeah, oh, that's what she meant, you know? And I think this happens to us in mentorship often, right? We learn something and then we don't do it till later or whatever it is. But I've had very few experiences where what someone said to me was so impactful that I will remember it later. Like it's just as a new level of awareness comes in. And this is just kind of part of like shifting dimensions and living in new paradigms as you also start understanding at a completely new level, you know?
You and I both really love deeply the show Discovery of Witches, and that, sorry, my alarm is going off weirdly. The show Discovery of Witches is so interesting because one of the things about one of them, I won't give too many spoilers away for anybody, but one of the things about that show is that the main character is what they call a time weaver. And my guides say that that's what I do. I'm able to basically, the reason I can see so far into people's futures is because I have this ability to basically like travel through their quantum field, their Akashic records, whatever you want to call it, their like sacred soul's journey, and I can literally see what's going to happen for people. And it is very unusual. I have never met anybody who had as open a crown as I do, and that is like what enables me to be able to do that. I have my, you know, human issues for sure, but I have a really I have a very unique spiritual IQ that is really special, and I literally incarnated to help people remember these things about themselves. And our friend and one of also my clients, Elise Bassine, always says that that's like one of my greatest gifts is that I can literally time travel because I can see these parts of people that they don't even remember. And that again is part of these contracts that I made with everybody who works with me, is to be like, I will help you remember. Like that is what I literally incarnated to do, was to help you remember how fucking powerful you are. And because I can see these really long threads of potential, I am able to also be like, okay, so like we're going to lock that down. Like we're going to travel to that future, your best future. We're going to bring it back to now. We're going to align it in and just lock it down.
And it works so well for me because I'm so good at action and strategy and business and all of the things. So it's like, boom, when you add that part, like, and it's probably light on you too, because you're like, you know, you're not looking to like coach to help. That's not your area, right? So it's like having someone who's good there and you can just focus on your zone of genius. So for me, that feels perfect because it's just created even more aligned decision making and just movement for me. just clarity. It's just more, and I love fucking clarity, and so does the universe.
Yeah. And it makes it like when you can get that level of clarity, it really does make it so that you're able to just, my entire life has very much been that trust fall. It's been about really knowing that no matter what happened to me, that I would always be safe, I would always be protected. And knowing that like I do hold this really special vibration for people. And then everyone who works with me has just these like really powerful reintegrations, whether they do the soul retrieval, whether they like, I have a new, I know you've been a champion of mine about this for quite some time. But I have a new container which I am so excited about called Angelic Alchemy, and that is really about like the soul retrievals were actually like a catalyst for me when I was envisioning what a container of mine would look like a longer version of it. Like, how do I take that information? How do I help people reintegrate all of those parts of themselves and then be able to really start to live in that space of mystery? Because when you can get into that miracle frequency, when you can realize that, like you and I were talking about this because your name means joy. I say joy has always been my secret weapon. No matter how messed up my life has been, and it has been messed up, but no matter how messed up my life has been, I've always held what has been, it doesn't always, sometimes people are like, you are a nutter, you are ridiculous. Why are you like the most positive person that's ever lived in the face of what you've been through? But I just have this like really unstoppable relationship to joy where I'm like, nope, some people don't agree with this and I appreciate that, but I really do believe that every single thing that happens with and for us happens for reasons. And there are threads, even in the hardest moments of pain, from an ancestral perspective, from a current timeline, no matter how messy a person may feel, we have these phenomenal gifts. Like we all we're all psychic. We have varying different abilities. Not everyone is a wild money witch. Like your gifts are so unique yourself, but working with me really does just, it's like my guides are literally saying right now, they're like, it helps to tend a sacred flame. And it does, it like helps to tend this like very sacred flame in your own heart, so you're able to like imagine things that are even bigger than what you would have before, because you're like tapped so deeply into this like level of spirit and connection. And when I work with people, I also help to clear out all of that stuff that's not authentically yours. And I feel like that's another really powerful piece of it, is I do a lot of ancestral healing with people because we're all carrying around so much stuff that's not even ours.
Well, most of it's not, and that's why it feels so confusing.
Yeah, we're like, what is this mess that I'm in again? Like, this does not feel like it's mine. And it is often not. It is often not yours.
Literally not. And the other thing that you do too that I think is really powerful, it's like that remembrance to these other places that we came from. Like, you were probably one of the first people to say to me that I was channeling the Pleiadians when I wasn't even doing it on purpose. And I'm one of those, I always just go, and then like all the things come into my awareness later about what was happening. You told me that. And I remember you were one of the people who told me when I had like maybe 3 women in 2 weeks tell me that I was like receiving an Arcturian activation. I didn't even know who the Arcturians were at the time. And so I feel like you've also just created this remembrance for me, right? These feelings that we have where we feel like we're so different, because we had these lifetimes in other places that we still feel resonant with, but we kind of got disconnected from. We don't know why or where, and so there's also just been this huge remembrance on a spiritual level that just creates a lot more like safety and understanding. Like, I'm different than most people, obviously, but yeah. I feel glad about it at this point, at this point in my life. And at this point of how things are going on the planet, there's this level too, that I feel like is part of this remembrance and all of the things. Like, I've just had a deeper, you just kind of start like disassociating from them. I'm always like, fuck the matrix, but like, it's even more just, I'm not interested, like I don't feel very affected by it, or just like all the dramas and the power plays and the darkness and like this, that, and the other. It's like, I talk about living around, like living with the matrix around you, but not being of it, or living with, I forget the exact words I've used that I use myself, but you get the vibe, right? It can be happening around you, but like doesn't need to be my life. I feel like that's even firmer. Like I'm just not that reactive to things. It's just sort of like, well, this is what I want, this is what I'm doing, this is what's happening. If something comes up, cool, it gets to clear. I'm not very easily like thrown around. I feel like a lot of that is through building the spiritual strength, because I wasn't always like this, not even close. That is through building that like spiritual resilience, and with the clarity, you're also able to see more quickly, because what do we usually get thrown around by? Other people. So when you can see other people more clearly, because you're clear, you're less reactive, because you see all their stuff they still have going on. So you're kind of like address it, and it's like, whatever, I'm moving on,
Yeah.
or don't address it, depending on what it is and what needs to happen.
It just has this really remarkable impact. And I'm so happy and grateful that you agreed to come in and do this. I know that we are running on about half an hour, so I want to be respectful of your time. I would love for you to share like what you're up to right now, how people can connect with you, what you
Oh
have.
yeah, of course. So right now I have the cohort open. So the cohort is I love the cohort, is my multi-dimensional business ascension for women who are scaling to consistent, sustainable 5-figure months in feminine flow, no burnout, no over stressing about strategy, but really building a business your way. Yes, we need strategy, but like building the business your way. So it can be actually work for you and work for the long haul and make you the money, because that's part of the game. And I also am just really not into women suffering, and we've got to like start speeding up our timelines and how fast we're arriving, especially if, for those of us, which if you're someone who's listening to this, are here to really usher in this new era of living. No matter whether you're like working with other businesses, working with other individuals, et cetera, like time is moving so fast now. We just like don't have time to be like belaboring around with stuff anymore. So I'm really excited that it's the time of the year when I open doors on the cohort, and I have 2 early bird spaces remaining. Early bird is closing end of day Friday. And yeah, otherwise I have my self-led abundance course, Money Queen. That's a vibe. It's amazing. You can listen to my podcast, Queen Flow. I started a new Telegram channel. I don't know if you're in there, Andrea. I'm obsessed with Telegram.
I am not there yet, but I will be soon, because you're on Telegram and my friend Allie is on Telegram, and both of you are people whose vibe I want to be part of all the time. And I will soon be there myself.
It's nice too, because it doesn't have as much noise as standard social media does. You're not like going through a feed or anything like that. It's literally like if you opened your phone and just saw your contacts, it's just the people that you choose, and you just like go in their channel and you can see what they posted. It's also really nice for me because I can just like leave voice updates. It's almost like voxering to your community, but you can also share pictures and videos. And I love being on the receiving end of it too. It's almost like you can hear these like mini podcast episodes, sort of. I don't know. I just think it's really fun. And I like diversifying my platforms a little bit, keep it interesting.
Yeah. I love this. I love this. And I am a live testament to how powerful doing the cohort, doing my own work at the same time, doing trauma work, like all of those things in tandem really helped me to get to the point that I am at right now. And so I have witnessed for anyone who's like, oh, I'm like doing too, I hear this a lot from people that, oh, I would like love to do this, that, or the other thing, whether it's working with me or someone else, but I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. And the way to not feel overwhelmed is to dive head first. It is to get in there and to do the things and not to wait until you don't feel that way anymore, because you're not going to stop feeling that way.
Also, like time isn't going to slow down, ladies. That part of our life is over. Like time isn't going to slow down. So you actually have to learn to work with the energy that is on the planet now, which is fast, and that's not ending anytime soon. So if
No.
you're waiting, like you're gonna be waiting forever, because it's not even you, it's like your ability to move with the energy that is newer, that's on the planet. So I feel like there's just this weird, people have these misconceptions around what's in the way. And it's like, well, you just haven't learned to work with the energy yet, which is why you want to get help. Because if you want to receive quickly, you also have to kind of learn to work with this energy quickly, because this is just the way it is now.
Oh, and it is not, my guides say it
And
all.
everyone feels that. It's impossible that you haven't noticed that between last year and this year. I mean, it's the end of the year.
It is accelerate. I know how this year, how have we, I don't even understand like how the past 2 years have happened as fast as they have. And it's not slowing down. It's speeding up, it's speeding up, it's speeding up. And the way to really, like you said, is to get the help, to show up for yourself, to really be present in these ways, and to really tune your spiritual muscle, because it's going to make all parts of your life easier.
It just makes it easier. Like, it's so funny. I was walking around today. I was on a walk with Brooklyn, my puppy, before our call. And I was just like, I feel really calm. And then I like go see it, and then people are like freaking out, having meltdowns and and it's been so interesting. And of course, like I go through my experiences and my initiation, but it just goes to show the degree that I always, like you said, I would go head first. I would get it all done, like whatever we need to do to get there. I was always happy to do. And the payoff, in addition to obviously like my success, etc., it's just the inner peace. Like, it's so funny because so much of what even brought me down the journey that I'm on today was just wanting to feel good, and wanting to feel good turned into helping other people feel good, which turned into a business and like all the different shades of the business. But to me, it's like the greatest like asset we can have is feeling good. And then that feeling good goes and affects everything else. And like, I don't want to be running around like a chicken with my head cut off, especially in this era. Are you kidding me?
No.
Being plugged into the matrix right now is the worst time since we've been alive to be plugged into the matrix. So it's really important to like deprogram from this system, because it's dark out there otherwise, and it's not required. Like, I feel mostly like peace, and I'll have moments, right? Or like a few days that are weird, or something comes up and I'm like, ew, annoying. But the overall vibe is very like steady. Like I don't feel the tumultuousness of the world in my life or in my business.
Is one of the greatest gifts of really honing that spiritual muscle, is that it's not that your life is going to be perfect or easy, way less affected by all of the chaos that's happening externally when you really fine tune those muscles, and you really show up for yourself. And I have, as we wrap up, I will just say my container angelic alchemy kicks off the opening ceremony to in many ways be in a soul retrieval, as it were.
Wait, Andrea, you were cutting in and out a little bit, so I don't know if everyone heard you. You were just saying when Angelic Alchemy kicks off.
Yeah, Angelic Alchemy kicks off next Friday, which is November 19th. I am so I started because I am a drama queen. I was like tapping into the energy earlier, and I literally started crying. I was like, I'm just so excited about it.
Incredible.
It's gonna be incredible. I already have 4 amazing women who have signed up to be on this journey, and I can't wait to see like who else comes out. If you are interested, if you were like feeling the call to participate, I would love, love, love to have you. It's going to be so powerful. It's going to be a 2-month journey. It goes from November to January. And I will tell you, just like you said, this, I know this, things are not slowing down. Things are going to continue to accelerate. We are on a crazy train, to quote Ozzy Osbourne. We're on a fucking crazy train right now, and we're barreling through the eye of the needle.
Oh, and do you know the United States is getting ready to go through its Pluto?
Richard, I can't. We are. So the other,
not even seen the half of it yet.
Literally, it's unbelievable. This is like the first time in 200 years. We are about, if it feels like this past year has been heavy-handed, all I can say is buckle up, buttercups, because it is about to get even more real than you possibly thought.
You don't want to be part of it. It's like, it's not even as scary. It's like, opt out of it. Take your sovereignty. You don't have to be part of this.
You do not need to be part of this. So I encourage anyone who is feeling the vibe to reach out to me, reach out to Jocelyn, but I am holding space for everyone in this container. And my grandmother's birthday, she would be 101 tomorrow on 11/11. So in honor of that, soul retrievals are going to be $111 off for the next week. So if anyone wants to book a soul retrieval with me, I will go ahead and put a discounted link in there. But I really just encourage people to go for it, because the time is now. Things are not going to slow down. And I appreciate so much that you took the time to do this. I'll make sure that like the links to your stuff are in here too. We'll put the podcast and all the stuff in here. But and I'm also going to post this on Instagram to help
look at me go.
Yeah, look at me go.
Repurposing my content.
Expands the reach and repurposing content, just like I learned how to do in the cohort. So I love you so much. Thank you for being here, for doing this. You are just a true like gem and a light in my life. And I'm so grateful that I listened to my guides when I heard you, because if I had not done that and I had second guessed myself and nickel and dimed myself and done all the things and been like, oh, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I can't do this, I wouldn't be here right now to be able to hold space for all of you. So babes, like, just get it. It's time to show up for yourself.
Totally. And I'm sure Angelic Alchemy, it's also going to be so cool for your work to go through like a powerful community, because so much of it has been one-on-one.
Yeah, I've been doing so much one-on-one work, and this is going to just be amazing, because we're going to be able to like learn in concert with one another, of course, because you see this too, like when people are in groups with each other, there is always like a theme in terms of the lessons and the opportunities and all of that. So it is going to be amazing to watch it play out. I can't wait. So,
and I really feel like people or women, at least in my roles, I'm sure it's been the same in yours too, like contract to be together at the same time, but don't really know that coming in.
Yeah.
And then you meet these like lifelong friends and grow together and have your ascension together. And
yep. And you're able to like collaborate and see your own work in new ways. Like I met so many people through your container who are now like truly my soul family, truly people who I was like born to engage with. And I can see that very much with Angelic Alchemy. Like there's such a beautiful commonality and a thread in terms of like a lot of the people who have signed up for it have been like learning more about the way that they process light language and heal themselves. So it is, my guides call it the they're saying that it is just like one of the best containers that could exist for a quantum healer at this time. It's going to hold a really powerful space. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. And yeah, I will see all of you soon enough, I hope.
Bye.
Bye.